able to have time to specify the requirements for our temporary workers and be able to quantify the needs for those temporary workers also. There was also a recommendation in the panel's findings that we look at community outreach and that we make some drastic changes vis-a-vis the ballot department. But I think we'll deal with that at another time. Thank you.
Any other questions on the vouchers? Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Then moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the vouchers as listed in the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That finalizes the agenda with the exception of executive session.
As the procedure to the tie vote. So the proponents and the opponents of the motion shall submit their view to a single written statement for each side. These statements must contain a summary of the background of the issue and the argument supporting your respective position. So, okay.
Mr. Chairman, before your meeting's over with, again, on behalf of the voters of Cuyahoga County, I'm asking you, the Board of Elections, the four of you. When I was a judge, when we used to have a jury and it was deadlocked, we used to give the jury a charge to say, you are the best ones to make the decision. You've heard all the facts, you sat through all the evidence, you've gone through all of this. Nobody can make a better decision, regardless of what it is, than you four members of the Board of Elections. And I'm asking you on behalf of all the people of Cuyahoga County to make a decision and not send it to the Secretary of State. And let me tell you why. People across this country are looking at Ohio. They're looking at Ohio because Ohio has been the source of all kind of controversy with regard to boards of elections. By doing what you're doing, not making a decision, you are sending this decision to the Secretary of State, who happens to be a candidate for governor of the state of Ohio, and he will make a decision about what's going to happen in Cuyahoga County, one of the largest voting counties in the state of Ohio. Come on, you ought to be able to make a decision in the best interest of all the voters, regardless of your party. And I'm asking you once again, even once you make this motion to send it to the Secretary of State, to sit down and talk about it and try and get it going on. Because right now, just last week, we voted to pass, reauthorize the Voting Rights Act. It was one of the most significant pieces of civil rights legislation in this country. And we voted on a bipartisan basis to reauthorize it. This is a bipartisan board. Make a decision and get on with the business of running the Board of Elections.
Mr. Congresswoman, I'm going to say it again. My position is that it is very dangerous for this board to make changes at this time when we have 75 days till we begin the general election. If I had a clear-cut view of who would be able to come in here, step in, and immediately step up to the plate and hit a home run for us, I would certainly consider that. Unfortunately, that just does not exist. I think that it's also unfair to the individuals involved that a 395-page report that was delivered in the wee hours of yesterday morning, and granted, I probably had more time than anybody else to review the report, and even I, after going through it a second time, have some major questions on it. I would like the review panel to meet with this board on Election Day, August the 8th, to go over some of the recommendations and to have a discussion, an open and transparent discussion on this. I would also hope that we have the matter resolved then as to the director and the deputy director. I realize that there's a difference of opinion here. It is not political, though. I will remind you that the director is a Democrat and I'm a Republican.
I didn't say that it was. I merely asked you to make a decision.
I understand, and I've made the decision, and I feel that the risk factors in talking to two of the members of the review panel happen to agree with me that it is very risky for us to make a change at this time in light of everything that is going on and where we are and what we have to correct between now and preparation for the election.
Mr. Chairman,
I had a conversation with both Judge Adrian and Tom Hayes just last evening on it because I knew that this issue was going to come up.
Mr. Chairman, I too have talked to members of the review panel, and I don't agree with your assessment. I think it's very, very important, and I agree with the Congressman. It is important that we, as a board, at this juncture of our deliberations, we must make a decision. We have all the information before us to help us make that decision. I've indicated that we have not, as a board, faithfully conducted the election process. The findings support that notion. We have the opportunity to make a decision right now without referring it to the Secretary of State's office.
Mr. Chairman, you stated a minute ago that it was dangerous to remove these individuals. I say to you, it's dangerous if you don't. You say you'd like to go into executive session. I don't know if that's necessary to talk about where we would go from here. But I know I, for one, would be interested in preferably not executive session, but either the general forum or executive session. If this vote goes to remove the two top individuals, I certainly, as a board member, would be willing to go into a session, be it public or private, to determine where we go from here and give you the name of the person that can come in here, turn this place around.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Director?
No.
Anybody else? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Was there a public discussion phase of this meeting?
I think the purpose of the meeting is to accept the report of Adele. We're going to have a meeting with the review panel here with the board and to go over, and that will be very public, and we hope to hold that on election day when all the board members will be here on August the 8th.
I would request at least 3 minutes, if not 5 minutes, to speak.
Well,
If this is a public meeting.
I think in view of the recommendations, Mr. Chairman, made by the investigative panel, this is a public meeting, and I think any member of the public should be allowed to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Coxon.